Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm talking to Chris Brown. Chris served with 7 RHA, joining up in 1997 and first attended basic training at Pirbright and then Phase 2 at Larkhill before completing Peak Company and going on to serve with his parent unit. Chris served in various tours, including Op Telic in 2003 and also tours of Afghanistan. If you like this podcast or any of the previous ones, please consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Frankie'sPod. It just goes to help fund the software and the hosting. Thank you. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking to Chris Brown. Chris served with 7 RHA. When did you join?
October 1997.
And where did you grow up?
So that was in Margate, down southeast of England, Kent.
And what was your childhood? What was it like there growing up there?
Do you know what? It's centre of the universe for me. It always has been. You know, no matter where I've been, you know, around the world, wherever I've gone in the country, you know, I've got this very like romantic image of Margate, you know, and I just don't give a fuck, you know. It's the way it is. Like, you know, like I could be in Bristol, and I've been living down the southwest and that, and people are going, "Where do you live?" And I go, "Margate." You know, and I'm like going, well, actually, I live like 20 miles up the road and that. And they go, you live in Margate? You've come all the way over here? But no, but yeah, that's where I'm from. So I was born in Margate Hospital, June 1974, and that typical like nuclear family, mum and dad, older brother, younger sister, and that troublesome like we all were. But I was always that kind of square peg round hole. Just absolutely hated school. You know, that was like primary school, and that was like secondary school. It just did nothing for me. And even today, at my age, and that I'm still like really anti. You know, kind of like the educational system in the UK and that. You know, just absolutely hated it. Got like a very much like rebellious streak and that. Always listening to like kind of like punk rock, oi music, skinheads, scooters, you know, anything that was kind of like anti-establishment, you know, back in the time and that, you know, I was right in the mix of it. Like, you know, I was going to gigs, doing like sort of like scooter rallies. So this would have been about like, you know, I left school 16. I went on and the only job that I got offered was breaking cardboard boxes for Mr. Patel in his corner shop called Days up in North Down Road, and that was the only job that I was offered. Like when I left school, off like the careers advice. So, honestly, I managed to get onto like the YTS, Young, Thick and Stupid. And that was a fantastic guy called Alan Champs and that, and he just took older kids, you know, and it didn't matter what your background was. Went on the YTS for like a couple of years, did that for £29.50. Didn't get any qualifications at all. I was just like too busy, just getting educated off like the other guys. Like, you know, I just moved from there, and I got a job as a cleaner, for, you know, in a theme park and I was like stacking shelves in warehouses like B&Q, etc. Got a job on the railway for a few years, and that just didn't work out for me. And I think for that it was just like I was just too young, working with like all these older guys that had all kind of had a life, you know. So I was very like kind of like argumentative, temperamental. Got the sack for doing a Mooney there. Yeah, you know, went from there, and then this was most probably like the best job I've ever had in the whole wide world. It was working for Geest. I think it's and they do like kind of like all the little pots and cold slaws, etc., for Marks and Spencers. And my, you know, and like you could be on the production line and you could be like cutting up carrots or cutting up potatoes or cutting up vegetables. And it was absolutely brilliant. But there was two jobs that was even better than that. One was working in the tray wash. So like you just got this tray and you just put it through, and then like you had to stack it up. And I did that for like 8 hours. And then they said, do you want to mix? Do you want to mix coleslaw? And I was like, you know, yeah. So I was there like these big gloves on, just mixing coleslaw, and I was, because I was really good at that, you know, I had to do these garlic potato wedges, and I just give it up. It was brilliant. I used to go home, and my mum wouldn't let me in the house because I just stunk of garlic and stuff. And it was just, you know, and every time I see the geese lorry going past, I used to make like coleslaw for Marks and Spencers with those things. And that was like kind of like, this was guys that were right at the end of the line. They weren't going to get picked up by anybody else. And I was like kind of going like, I'm getting itchy feet now. I kind of need to do stuff. So I was making kind of inroads, you know, to like looking into the military and that. And I got like another warehouse job. And then I just said, like, you know, I'm going to join the Royal Air Force and that. Applied to join like the Air Force to go in the RAF regiment. So I've gone in there, passed the exam, and I thought, like, that's it. I'm made for life and that. And I had to fill out this tattoo performer, and I think at the time I only had about 8 tattoos, nothing on my forearms. I've got nothing, you know. And they said, no, you've got too many tattoos. Nothing political or naughty or anything. They just went no. So I went downstairs to the recruitment office where the army was, and I just said to him, I said, look, I said, I just need a lifeline. I just need somebody just to give me something and that. And he goes, right, okay. He goes, so go across to Canterbury. Went across to Canterbury, saw the guys in there, and the recruitment sergeants were like from the PWRR infantry. And their exact words were, well, what tattoos have you got? Have you got anything naughty, political? Said no. He goes, as long as you haven't got the Popes of Para, you're all right.
I know they used to be correct. You know, it was weird, isn't it? You look back now,
look,
and they were really strict.
Yeah, you know, all
with tattoos.
Kids are all there. They're all tattooed up and got their hands in that. But when I got in, it was like, no, you're not coming in. So the army said, like, you know, I had to do the barb test. And this was the thing, right, about the army and that. They said, oh, you've scored really, really high in your barb test. You can go for wherever you want to go. So I got the Pirbright, and all these kids and that, they're all asking about like the barb test scores and that. And they've got like 60, 70, 80, 90, couple of hundreds and that. And I think I got 40. I got like the lowest barb score going. I sat there, I did the barb test, and as soon as I passed the barb test, they said, right, you need to go down a Pirbright. You need to do like your 2-day induction. Do your 2-day induction. Did that. Come back. Where do you want to go? So like the Royal Regiment and that. But I'll come back to that part. And it was like that Friday, I'd done my oath of allegiance, and then that Sunday, I was on a train down to Brookwood Pirbright. So like within, I'd say 10 days, I was in the army.
Bloody hell, that's a quick turnaround. That like
it was the world record in that, you know. And but I sat there though, going back, and I sat there in a pub in Margate, and it was called the Ship Inn. It was absolutely brilliant. You know, it was proper rife and that. It was skinheads, it was punk rockers, football. It was just everybody. It was just our great little pub. And I sat there one night, and I just went. I said, like, I've just had enough. I just need to get out and that. Just left my pint on the side, went home, and said to my dad, like, you know, I'm going to join the army. He goes, well, okay then. He takes me out for 8 miles, drops me off in the middle of nowhere, and goes, right, I'll see you at home. So I went, right, okay. So I had to run 8 miles home and that. I did it, you know, didn't complain, didn't do anything like that. And he goes, would you want to go in? And I said, well, you know, the infantry, I feel like, household cavalry, guards, etc. Like every other kid, parachute regiment, that. And he goes, well, why don't you go Royal Artillery? He told me, like, like when he was in Aden and the Radfan, about like the airborne gunners. Like we'd just be there in buff order, marine berries on, rugby shorts, socks rolled up, pair of Desi wellies, and I went, yeah, I could do some of that, and then I found the picture later on, and it was these really really tough looking guys, on these like little guns and that, like just smashing whatever up, and
Yeah, the pack howitzers and 25-pounder, didn't they? Yeah.
yeah, and it was kind of great, and I just thought it was this really niche kind of cool thing, because it wasn't a parachute regiment, it was Royal Artillery, and I started looking about like what the gunners had done during World War II, and how like the gunners had been at the forefront of like the kind of like the army commando side, and how like the gunners were going, well, how can we get our guns onto a battlefield, and they were working out how to get these smaller guns into gliders. How can we drop them out? And I just thought there was just something about wearing a marine berry, like with a gunner cap badge, Denison smock, and I just went into the recruitment office and said, like, I think it's 7 para RHA I want to go for. And he goes, well, why don't you want to go AS90? Because like they've got underfloor heating. And
He likes you.
yeah, and I'm like, you what? He goes, yeah. He goes, like, we got this great big AS90, and it was like not many people were kind of like going to like field or kind of light gun regiments. So when I joined up and that, you had AMF was still going 19.5,
Yeah.
and it was 2.9 and 7th, and I think 19, yeah, because 19 had done like the Bosnians and stuff, so 19 RA. And they were up in Colchester with part of AMF and all the rest of it. I think they were at AMF as well.
Yeah, I went out to Bosnia in 95 with 19 Reg.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
got a Pirbright. Had to do like this foundation company, and that was like living in like these little like Nissan huts. It was called Spiders, and it was like very much like kind of bad lads army kind of thing. And I just went, yeah, I'm going to have some of this, and I was kind of doing well. And this guy from the Welsh Guards like turns around and goes like, do you think that you've made the right decision joining the Gunners? He goes, don't you want to, typical guardsman now, don't you want to go to war wearing a bearskin? So I phoned up my dad, and I've gone, look, the guards have asked me to, like join them, and I can go to war wearing a bearskin. He goes, well, when was the last time they went to war wearing a bearskin? So, but like, you can't say that to a lance sergeant in the Welsh Guards or the Grenadiers. You just got to go, thank very much, and that. So did that. Did like my kind of syllabus and stuff. Got through to the end, and it was like the last week or so, or it was about the last 3 days before like the pass out, and I just thought like high spirits and all the rest of it. We'll pretend like we're like bombardiers and that, because all bombardiers all wear softy jackets and rugby shorts and flip-flops, and we'll go around there like the other blocks and that, and we'll trash all their rooms and we'll pretend we're bombardiers. Like I thought it was a really good idea of that. So we got up, and there was like people in crutches, like like beds were getting tipped out. This one guy, no names, no pat drills, he's really getting into it. He's gone from recruit to like kind of like RSM level, and he's like, yeah, get out of bed. He's making a marked time of that. I just thought we got away with it, like going up to the block and giving them a bit of a shoeing. So anyway, come downstairs, got into bed, frigging giggling and all the rest of it. Next day, you three, and it was a sergeant from 7th. And he's marched us up. And in fact, like your bombardier, the bombardier was from 3rd as well. You had a pair of brothers that were both in 3rd. What's his name? Got ginger hair. Oh, I think he's a major now. He must be, like, got LE.
I'm not sure he was at Pirbright then.
So anyway, we'd gone there. We've had to march in front of this sergeant, and there's no one there. There's no one there, and this guy's like gone like, you've come up to the block and that, you've terrorised my guys, and now I'm going to terrorise you. And he goes, it's like this. You might as well like phone up your parents and tell them like you're not passing out, because like you've been back squadded to week 1, day 1, and you're coming into my troop. It gets worse than that, mate. He did me. He proper did me and that. So like, you know, like these two guys are like gone, oh my God, like this. I'm like going, I've cracked it. Like, I'm like, you know, and I've just gone, right, okay, whatever happens. And he goes, right, get all your stuff, get all your kit, and you've got to go up all these stairs with all your kit there like that. And like, we'll see how we get on like with this inspection and all the rest of it. So I'm like, right, okay, done this, marched it all up there. This lad's marched it all up there and that. And he's gone, do you know what? He goes, I've just had enough of you. He goes, I don't want you in the block, and I don't want your kit in the block. So he goes, I suggest what you do is throw your stuff down the stairs and that, you know, all your best boots and all your kit and all the rest of it. So I'm like going, so does that mean like I'm getting kicked out of the army now? Whatever it is. Very, very clever for the boys. It was mostly like one of the best punishments I've ever had. In fact, I've always wanted to do this to somebody else. He had this whole troop waiting outside, and he called this troop in to go up the stairs, and he's doing drill on my kit with like these 30 recruits all marking time.
Oh, fuck.
like that, you know, and I'm like, oh, what's happening now? Like, you know, and they're all like looking smug and that, because we got one over on them, we got them out of bed, you know, and they've got one over on us, you know, and they've trashed all our kit. And I thought, do you know what, that's fair. So it was just hang all your kit up and that, get back in and pass out that Friday. But yeah, it could have been, you know,
It could have been a lot worse, yeah.
There's just no way you'd have got away with that now. There's no way could you like gone on into like another block and trashed that, and there'd been no way could like troop sergeant, troop bombardiers turn around and get all the kids, you know, to mark time on all your kit and all the rest of it. It was a fair, right, just full punishment, you know. There was no ag eyes about it. No one got filled in. The kids, like, you know, like, they've trashed all your kit. You know, you've trashed their kit, they've trashed your kit. There's no animosity or anything like that. Passed out, get a Pirbright. And then this intake, like, kind of follows me from Pirbright to Larkhill. And they're like going, do you remember, like, when you trashed our room and that? And I'm like, oh, you know, you know, like, they're all surrounded around me. And I've gone, well, what do you want to do about it? And then like they went, well, no, we found it quite funny. And I went, oh, right, okay, then, like, you know, that's all right. But like, you know, it was in the laundrette. I was like looking at the door,
Yeah,
you know,
escape routes.
trying to get out of the laundrette as all these kids, like, you know, still got a grudge match against me. But yeah, got through that. And then it was got to 7th, and that was just like, you know, it was just brutal. But it was brutal in such a right way, like, you know, not just like the selection process of doing like P Company.
Were you prepared for P Company, do you think?
Do you know what I mean? Well, what they do, I mean, every time, like, you know, they kind of change it, like the batteries and the regiment kind of change it. But I'd like gone into Balls Troop, I battery, fantastic battery, you know, loads of history and all the rest of it. And you did battery PT with them, and what you'd have to do would be like, you'd have to do like a mini kind of like battery selection kind of thing, you know, make sure that, like, you know, like you're switched on, you're fit, and then like once like you're good for that, like you'd go on to like regimental selection, which would be like another 5 days or 10 days, kind of like running around the Ulu, like, you know, really, really constructive, no kind of like thrashing, anything like that. It'd just be like a really good, like, kind of like PT session in the morning, and it'd be like a really good long distance run and a tab in the evening, you know, or late afternoon and that. And I wasn't the fittest guy at all. Like, you know, I most probably come last on every single run and every single Bergen tab and all the rest of it. I was always at the back. but I knew for myself, like, there was no turning back from it. That's where I wanted to be. You know, that's why I left that pub that night. I left that pint glass on the table. That's why, like, my dad took me out, you know, dropped me off eight miles away. That's why, like, you know, I did like my research, you know, into the regiment. You know, did that. I did like brigade screening. You had to do a mile and a half, the Trinasium, and a 10 miler, you know. And for whatever reason, like, you know, I don't know what the cut line was. I don't, but I just couldn't get that kind of 9 minute mile and a half time. I just, for whatever reason, it would just be like, you know, 9:30 would be, say, like the cut off. I'd come across the line, dip your head, and they go, "No, mate, you know, that's you." So it took me a couple of times to get past kind of like the screening process.
Yeah.
You know, and then one day it was just like, right, you're on the screening process. Went up there, smashed it. Like, you know, it was like the mile and a half run, which was the old school mile and a half run. You know, we did a mile and a half first, mile and a half best effort. You know, smashed it, no issues at all. Did the Trinasium, you know, no issues at all. Did the 10 miler, absolutely, like, no issues at all. And then I went out the Catterick where I was like number 10. You know, I just got myself through it all, you know. So it took me a couple of times, like, you know, to get past like the screening phase, you know.
Yeah.
But when it actually come to like P Company and test week and all the rest of it, I got through it on like flying colours. You know, I didn't pick up an injury. I was always at the back. I was never that thoroughbred racehorse, you know. And it's like you'll get so many people that would say, "Oh yeah, I was always at the front. I was here. I was there." No, you know, it was always my name that was getting, well, like my number was getting shouted at. And like, I think it was on the ICFT. The individual combat 2 miler test, £35 and that on the back. You've got to do that in like 18 minutes. And I come in within that 18 minutes, way before it. And like the P Company instructor is like, you know, this man is a fat, useless knacker. He ain't going to pass P Company. And I'm like, fucking hell. got that. And that was fine. Got up onto the Trinasium, and I think everyone had that crow flu. I've got up there, and you've got to do like the aerial assault course, and like the voice had gone, like, you know. So it's like I'm standing up there, you know, and it's like you've got to go like, you know, like number 10 staff, and like they'll go like stand by go, but like the voice is gone, so I've just gone like number 10 staff like that, and they're like, oh, what was that? You're like going, my voice is gone. Like, can you imagine like going like that? And they go, right, go on, getting across the seesaw, and they're going, go back, do that again. You know, right, okay, like get, you know, get across the seesaw, got across all of that. Log race night, I won my log race, you know, which I'm really happy about on that. Like, you know, my milling, you know, I lost my milling, but I was up against a staff sergeant from the Royal Signals, and I've come along. I've just gone right. Let's just get it on. He was going to get it on and that, and I've cracked him and I popped his nose on like kind of like the first punch. And he was just like, right, you're having it.
Oh.
You know, and he's like, like that. And we had a really, really fantastic fight. You know, it was a brilliant fight, both on the ropes kind of thing at each time. But it's a minute of just like levering each other, you know, and it was absolutely amazing. You know, I loved that.
Just for the people who don't know, there will be people who without a military background won't know what milling is.
Right.
So you just describe what milling is.
Okay, so milling is like all guns blazing, boxing without moving your head, and it's all about for 60 seconds going at it. You know, you don't back off. It is just go forward. And if you start raining down punches, which will happen to everybody on milling, you've got to be prepared to take that punch. And when those punches stop raining, that means like you need to go forward and you need to go again. And you've got these whopping great big, like, you know, old school, like medicine ball style, like boxing gloves that like stink of like wet dogs. And like you've got this like head guard on that goes at the side of your head. But the thing is, it's the nearest thing that you'd get to like Sparta, because like you've got all the guys that are all standing there making this Bakshi ring up around, and it's just like everyone's shouting kill, just kill him, just knock him out. And there was this one guy who found the whole of P company easy, really easy. He come first on everything, and he got his nose popped, and he's gone down on the floor, and both his nostrils are just pouring like a tap. And it was the first time in unison the whole of everybody around the boxing ring is all shouting out, "Well, you haven't found that easy, have you?" And started cheering.
Sympathy, loads of sympathy.
That's the thing, like there's no sympathy in it, but
No.
you give the guy his credit, you know, and the respect that he deserves. He stood back up, you know, got his gloves up, and the guy's just hit him again, and the guy's gone down, and there's this another great big cheer and that. And he's got back up, you know, and
But that's what it's for, to see how people
yeah,
react. You know, it's pure aggression.
yeah, it is.
Like you say, that 60 seconds.
Yeah, it's 60 seconds, but it's like Sparta, because like, you know, like the major of P company and his sergeant major are sitting on top of a vaulting horse, and they've got an old school bell, you know, and that's it. Seconds out, go in there and just batter each other. You know, did that, you know, 20 miler, no problems on it. Salt course, no major problems. The steeplechase, no problems at all. You just get it, you know, you just got to get it in your head. You just got to go from A to B. And then at the end of it, you have like your parade, which is a stand up, sit down. And it's just like, number one, sir, fail, sir, sit down. Like that, you know. And it was just like pass, fail, pass, fail, pass, fail. And kind of got to me, number 10, sir, pass, sir. It's when it was like, you know, all that hard work. And I couldn't believe that these guys have actually got the best out of you, you know.
Yeah.
They've pushed you. And at any time you can just turn around and say, no, you know, it's not for me at all. And they push you to like, you know, like they've just, it's like flogging a dead horse, like, you know, there. And if you can get through that, it's, pardon the cliche, but you're in that brotherhood, you know, and like you pass that, and then like you go back to 7th, you do battery PT, and you're at the back of the run because like you're completely knackered, and they're all saying, "Oh, you should be like fit as anything. You just passed P company."
Yeah.
But your legs, you know, your legs and your back and all the rest of it are just completely broken. So did that, and then went away to Bryce Norton and that, you know, like where like you do your jumps course, and that was just like playtime. You know, that was just absolutely amazing. Like, you know, you for a whole week, all you are is on those old horrible green smelly mats, just rolling around on the floor. You know, you're just rolling on.
Do they still do the static jump at Catterick?
So no. So everything. Well, when I was there, and unless it's changed and all the rest of it, everything's done at Bryce Norton at the parachute training school, and like you're just there going. Being the Royal Air Force, you think like it's going to be like 5-star accommodation and all the rest of it. No, like, you know, once again, like you're in this like Spiders complex, right next to the airfield, right next door to the RAF police, you know, where the police dogs are. So every time like a plane goes, woo, 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 you just got these dogs barking all night. You know, it's just this old Nissan hut, you know, so it's like,
Yeah.
even the RAF don't want you there, you know, and you've got like guys from like, you know, artillery there, Royal Engineers there, Royal Signals, Royal Military Police. If there's anyone that's attached to SF, Special Forces, like, you know, etc., that go there, and like you do like your static line jumps and that. So like you'll start off rolling around on the floor, then they'll get you in like a set of flight swings, and then like you're just there, you're just doing all your drills, etc. And then like you'll go up on the plane, and then like you just do a single stick clean fatigue Hollywood jump from like 1,000 feet. And then like they'll slowly ramp it up, so like you'll both go out, you know, half a second interval up to like a stick of 8 or 12, and then like they'll lower that down to 800 feet, do that, and then like you have like your wing ceremony, and and that's it. Like you're like you're fully badged, really.
So what was your first jump like?
I arrived, so it's that's what it said on like my flight record, and that it goes like you've arrived in that. So it's like number 2 on the door, port stick, and it was just like they just. In fact, no, I'll go back because I'm jumping ahead of myself. So my first jump was on Western Green in a sky van. So like the blue jump had gone, So in old money, everyone would be like jumping out of a hot air balloon, like the big barrage balloon.
Yeah.
They got rid of that, and it was this like sky van, which was basically like a skip, with like a set of wings in it. Like it was horrendous, and all that was just like the back door opens like that, and it's just like a slide, and you just jump off, and you're supposed to like be able to do like steer away and do all this kind of stuff and that. I think I just forgot to do all of that, and I just hit the floor, and tight is right, loose is no use. Just did that. Everyone comes running over, and they just went like, "You've arrived." So then like you do that, and then like you're like jumping out of like the C-130s and that, and that's just great. Because like you've just got these young fit men. It's their rite of passage for whatever reason. Nobody knows why like you want to join airborne forces and that, or why you want to jump out of a perfectly good aeroplane. But these guys, that's what they want to do, and they've got to get it out of their system and all the rest of it. And the doors open, and like you're just going to like lob yourself out. You're just there. You're either going to get twists where like you're going to spin round, you're going to kick yourself out, and you just land, and then like you just got to fold up your parachute, and if you're lucky, you could get like two jumps in, get like your wing ceremony done, and then you're just back at your regiment. But this is the interesting thing out of all of it: you get out of phase 1, and like you're up there. You get to phase 2, and you're back down a level. You pass phase 2, and you're back up a level. You get to your regiment, you're back down there.
Yeah.
So you do your jump past P company and do your jumps course, you're back down there again. So you've got to get to there, and then once like you've got your wings and like you're fully fledged into the regiment, the guys are like going, "You've just done nothing. You've just done the basics to get into the regiment." That's what they tell you.
The sickener. You're just like, "Oh, I've just been through everything."
I've just been through everything.
And then
You got to be accepted, and there is an acceptance, but it's just like them like just turning around and saying, right, yeah, you're in it, but this is where the work starts now for the regiment. And then your normal day-to-day business is just like any other kind of like artillery regiment, where it's like PT 3 times a week, and like you're going to be like either like servicing the guns, or like you're going to be in the radio troop, or you're going to be like a forward observer stroke FST, or like you're going to be in like the echelon, working in the stores, or working in like the motor transport world and that. So it's just normal kind of day-to-day business. Did that, did like Mikada course, passed Mikada course, and I was supposed to go to Belize. But this guy's like turned around and said, he was going to Larkhill, and I was going to Belize and that, and like he just wore me down. He just chimped and goes like, he goes, "Look, you've just passed your CARDA course. Get that tape on your chest and that, like you're good to go. All you got to do is go to Larkhill for 2 years."
So, I mean, you'd have been the same as me, probably. You think, I don't want to go to fucking Larkhill, because people had only been there beforehand on courses, and you get there and it's full of top brass. It's this, that, and the other, and it was shit.
Yeah.
And when I got told I was going to Larkhill, I was like, oh, God, do I have to? And then I got there. I went to the OP troop, and I wasn't OPs.
Yeah.
They put me in, I rocked up, and they put me in the OP troop, and I was put on with a guy. There was full screw from 148 Barry, Lance Jack from 7th, and a Lance Jack from 29 and me. And I rocked up that morning and they went, right, you go and get your kit. We're going out on the point now. And I was like, fucking hell. I was like, I don't even know why I'm here.
Yeah.
So I've just grabbed my webbing out of the store. I didn't even put it together. We've drove out there to, I think it was OP21. And I'm in the back of the Rover trying to put my kit together. We jump out. Everything was loaded up before. I'd literally got there that morning. So the M-Star and everything's in the back of the trailer and all that. And they're like, come on, got to get this out, get that out. And I'm walking across, carrying these fucking batteries or whatever, and my webbing just fell apart as I was walking across to the point, and they were just stood looking at me and went, do you want to go and put the kettle on? I was like, fucking yes. I was like, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
It's not my job, leave me alone. And I was, but then we got into it and everything like that. But I'm saying I wasn't OPs. I think they'd just done it for a laugh, just put me on, all right, he's old and fat or whatever, he's going on that crew type of thing. I was just glad when we started doing the tug of war and I was away from all the shade.
Yeah.
What I was going to say before I started rambling was probably been exactly the same. You got him off to Larkhill. I don't want to go there. You get there and you think, actually, this is all right. Nearly everyone I spoke to have said they loved it. The 2 years that they did at Larkhill at 3-4 battery or whatever other job they did down at the Estra, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At the other end of camp.
Yeah, Estra.
They loved it. They absolutely loved it. And I mean, I was probably the same as most of the lads. When I come to the end of my 2 years, I wanted to stay. I didn't want to go back to the regiment.
Yeah, and I think the reason being 3-4 battery is the nearest that you'd kind of get to like being in the Legion. It's just like you've got all these waifs and strays, these scum, these debtors, these credit card holders, these like failures of life, and they all just go into this place.
I've never thought of it that way, but you're right.
And in fact, it's like that opening scene in the Shawshank Redemption where it's like they're all fishing. You're fishing like this, and you just go to that battery, and it's like, what is going on here? What is going on? And hence, you need to have that strong battery sergeant major who's been through the mill. You need to have those strong troop sergeant majors that have been through the mill, that have to be as horrible and as nasty as they can to enforce as much horrible and nasty discipline as they can, so you lot can get through it all. And what you get is not that the sergeant majors are the enemy, but everyone congeals together, and it doesn't matter if like you're heavy artillery, if you're light artillery, if you're commando, if like you're 473, if you're airborne, you've all just got this common thing of like, one, it's going to be the weather, because you're out there, from Monday to Friday, and like the world's worst hangover because everyone is completely leaping, because it's just like once they've squared you away, you've been to the gym or whatever, someone's like going, do you want a beer? Yeah, like, they're set here and just have a beer, because like that you're going to be like cold, wet and miserable for the next 12 hours on the point. So why not just do it with the world's worst hangover? But saying that though, no one was ever late. If like you had stables at 6 o'clock in the morning, everybody had got round the block and everybody was there. And it didn't matter if you were completely comatose or whatever. It was like you need to sort yourself out, and that person, would sort themselves out, and then throughout the day, like when the guns weren't working or whatever, or not the guns weren't working, but if the guns weren't on a mission, that's where like you could just get 5 minutes sleep, and that once the guns had come back in, someone would say, right, what are we doing tonight? And you're like, well, I'm not going for a beer. All right, mate. Okay. Well, if you don't go for a beer, don't worry about it. And you just stay like that. Come on then, let's have a beer then. But like, everybody had like, they'd showered, like, like the kit had gone in the laundry, like they polished the boots, they'd hung up all their wet kit, like they'd done their little bits of PT. And it was just, for about 3 or 4 hours, right, let's have a beer. you know, and there was so much cohesion with that, like everyone just sitting there and just having a slab of beer and that, or smoking tabs or whatever it was, you know, and everyone was just like, right, what we got tomorrow? Well, we got the same again, right? Okay, that's it. And I don't think anybody ever went home at the weekends.
No,
No,
no.
you know, it would be Bournemouth in the summer, you know, or like you're being stickies.
Yeah, sticky mats.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the other thing with 3-4 battery as well, I mean, it's good for your trade because you're doing your job. And it was, when you think back then, before all the deployments came in, Iraq, Afghanistan, stuff like that, it was the only time that you'd actually get to do gunnery day in, day out. Or,
yeah,
the OPs would be doing it day in, day out and stuff like that. And you were doing it for real. You had more ammunition allocation as the courses came through.
yeah.
And it was good.
But didn't you find though that when you went back to your regiment and you've done everything per textbook, the regiment's like, "Go, we don't do it like that. Not interested." You know,
Yeah,
and you go
yeah,
through firing tables, you're going through gunnery, you're going through like deployment things.
yeah.
It's like you've gone down there, like you're doing everything textbook, but with a headache. You're going back to work, you know, back to your regiment shining, and they go, "Don't worry about that."
Yeah.
You know, like you're like, "Oh right, okay,
So when we were down there, we ended up on the tug of war team.
yeah."
How did you end up on that? Had you done tug of war before?
I think it's all so. So that's where Monsieur Whitworth comes into the fray.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You know, so you know Jimmy Whitworth, ex Second Field 40 Regiment, still an absolute legend of a guy, fantastic guy, dear friend, and that. And he's just there like that, you know, gets his little hip flask out. Mate, if you tug of war and that, no, he goes like, you love it, get on there, and he just he just gone round and he worked out like how much people weigh and how fit they were and all the rest of it. And he just said, right, like you're on the tug of war team. And back then, it was like tug of war meant time off work, you know,
Yeah.
because you weren't going to be cold, wet, and miserable. You're going to be this kind of sports star, you know, and like you just got absolutely thrashed to an inch of your life. You know, he had me running with sandbags. He had me like running up hills backwards. He got me on the rope, and something that has always stuck to me is like he goes, "It takes 8 to win and 1 person to lose." And
Yeah. I mean, when I started doing tug of war, when I got dick for it in the regiment before Larkhill, and it's people are like, I mean, I was never the fittest bloke in the army, at all. But I'd explain to people who were on the football team and the rugby team and stuff like that, and say, you come and do our training.
mm,
Oh yeah, you just do it all day. You've got PE in the morning, PT in the
mm,
morning, gym at lunchtime, and then on the rope in the afternoon. You're never at work. You're always in tracksuit. I said, well, you come and do what we do, and then the phys side of it, the running, the circuits and stuff like that, they'd keep up. As soon as you put somebody on a rope, they'd die.
yeah,
They'd absolutely die. And we've been up and down that rope. We've been pulling stuff up and down that gantry
yeah,
for hours and hours on an afternoon.
yeah.
5 days a week. Then all our competitions were at the weekends, and we were all over the country doing it. But I wouldn't have changed that for the world. I absolutely loved doing tug of war.
For me, it's still the best sport in the world, you know, because you don't. I mean, what other sports, bar boxing, I suppose, can you get on a rope and like you're going out your way to break somebody else's back?
Yeah,
You know, you just want to break that other person's back. Like, you know, you want to see their knees popping out of sockets. You just want that other team in more pain than what you are. It's like anything, like, you know, that pain becomes comfortable and you start enjoying that pain. And then like you start getting cocky in that, like, you know.
yeah,
You know, think like you're prima donna, but you know, it's always you that's bent forward. It's always you with your back snaps. It's always you like with your knees popping out. It's always you with the blisters, and it's always you in the hurt locker. But you know, when you got on that rope for a competition for that 10 seconds, you just want to hurt that other team. You know, you just want to hear that crack of that rope. You just want that unison of just everybody just moving backwards. I know it never comes out like that, but in your head, you believe the way it's going to be, but it's never like that, and it never goes back that fluid. And unless, like, you know, like you've been on the civilian circuit and you're one of these fantastic, you know, Felton Eccles, amazing, tug of war team, you know, Sandhurst, absolutely amazing, BAE, brilliant, you know, Hedge End, Young Farmers, all these great teams that are all out there, you know, that got no sponsorship, and they were just like rocking in a field and going, right, let's have a competition, you know. And
but it's the last like amateur sport that's not been ruined.
Olympic sport, it was an Olympian sport.
Yeah, it was. After Larkhill, you went back to 7th.
Yeah. So went back to 7th, did Kenya, did Grand Prix as it was called then. You know, first time to Kenya and that. Absolutely brilliant. Managed to get down to like Mombasa and that, which is like unheard about now. Like, you know, getting down there and doing like adventure training was brilliant. Did that. And then kind of, I think for all of us of a certain generation, you know, it was like, right, you're off to the sandpit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where kind of like where everybody just had to pull up like their big boy shorts, you know, for the next 20 years, say, like, you know, like all regiments, all squads and that were in either one theatre of like kind of like Iraq or Afghan and that. But yeah, for myself though, I only did Iraq once, but that was the invasion, you know. So
you were there at the same time we were. Yeah, I've seen you. We've seen you plenty of times.
Yeah.
Because Mountie was with you then.
Yeah, so Paul had come across, because I've gone back to Mercer's troop, G Battery, gone there, and we were like, well, here's one for you. Like, you know, before the invasion, we'd gone down into Kuwait, and we'd all gone like sort of like swimming and jet skiing and all the rest of this kind of like fantastic. Yeah. You know, in 91, like there was this all singing, all dancing hotel. Well, Saddam said, like, you know, he didn't want that hotel there anymore. So, and it was a big holiday resort, and he'd smashed it all up in 91. But we went back there in 2003, down to this resort, where there was just remains of it, and we had a day, you know, in the ocean, just swimming and, you know, decompressing and stuff. And then it was just like the next day, right, you lot, you're all going up to the border. It was like, what? You know, and for us, like the regiment, you know, it was like, right, you're all off to the border, just going to wait for your time to cross, you know. And that was like, I think, you know, one of the surreal things was 1 minute you're swimming in the ocean, and then like you're up on the border. There was a few little bits and pieces that happened, but this is like the most interesting story out of all of it. Was like I was sitting there on Stag and that, and I was smoking a tab, listening to the BBC World Service, and it come up on the World Service that the Americans had just hit Baghdad. So I've gone back to the command post and that, and gone, what's going on? And they're going, well, what are you talking about? You know, I said, like, the Americans just hit Baghdad, and they're gone, like, shut up, Brownie. You know, like, you know, it's one of your jokes. You know, like you're pranking us or whatever it was. And I went, no. And they had to get onto their Reggie net, to get onto brigade net, to get onto divisional net, to get right up to wherever, to say it was like the Americans had hit it.
Yeah, it's like I mentioned in my podcast, I went out there as advance party, and we'd done a lot of waiting around all the vehicles off the big boat and stuff like that. And we were up not far from the border, and we thought we were going to be doing another, like, a practice deployment, because we'd just done one previously, and we seen all the UN driving down the road, and we thought, right, bloody hell, that's it. This is it. And all of a sudden, all the sat phones were taken off as you bagged all your personal kit up, and that was it. Recce went off, and that night we started firing.
That's it, you know. And we, you know, I know everyone says about, like, you know, it was the first British unit to fire and all the rest of it, but
go on.
Well, it was us, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
It was.
It was D battery.
It was
D battery.
It was. Well,
and I'll tell you the mission. I'll tell you the mission we fired on as well.
I'll tell you what we'll do, because you write down on a piece of paper what time you had your your first fire mission, just the first one in that day.
There's a photo of it on
Well,
Facebook.
I'm not interested.
Wrote it on there
Oh, just
about that.
1100 a.m.
Well, we could argue about it all day long.
Well, no,
and no doubt people will in the comments on this.
We fired, I think it was child super, because obviously it was light gun, not nasty.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that was to take out the border guards, because obviously like there was some sort of border guard thing going on over the thing. We smashed them at about like 11 o'clock in the morning, and then like within the battery of 7th, like G battery, you've got like C gun and D gun arguing about who got the first round away. I mean, like they've really gone into it, like But yeah, it was for us. It was like kind of like 11 o'clock in the morning.
Our first mission was there was an American sniper or special forces, basically that spotted him, and they were ready to go for him, and he brought in fire. So he brought in a mission.
Yeah,
and I don't think he was expecting the reception
exactly
that he got. He literally got a full battery of 155.
Was he?
So whoever was coming for him got obliterated.
Who was going to pass and he got lit up, or was that later on?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that one was later on, because I think that there was one dicker, and I think it was C battery third. Not only like did they open up with a battery of 6 guns, but like it was like rocket assisted. or base bled ammunition kind of thing. Yeah, because
which I must admit, the first time we ever seen that fire, when the gun was fired, everyone just like, what's that?
Yeah.
And we spoke to some of the infantry in that afterwards, and they were saying it was absolutely amazing seeing it coming through the sky.
Yeah,
and they knew that they felt, when they seen that and heard it, they felt safe.
Yeah,
because I was on battery recce, so I moved from recce up to at the end of it, like more or less when it almost finished.
Yeah.
I moved up to the FPC, so I was right up at Battle Group headquarters, talking to the guys there, and they were saying it was amazing. The amount of rounds that were going in and bombing and stuff like that, it was just phenomenal. Well, and I mean, I got a lot of it on video as well. So
yeah, because I think it was kind of like going back a little bit. It was the first time since kind of like the D-Day operations, not as on the size of the D-Day operations, but where it was like kind of Army, Naval, Commando, Air Force had all gone for that prize and that, so for 16 Air Assault Brigade, it was to get all the gas oil separation plants. For Commando, it was to seize like the harbours and the docks, etc. And then for you guys, it was just to go as fast as you can to get up into kind of Basra. It was like that armour, to get that red hot poker straight up and that. So you've got Commando one side, you've got airborne the other side, and then you just got the heavy armour and the heavy artillery just going up straight through the middle.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Again, I've mentioned in mine, we went across the border in Safwan, set up a gun position there, and nearly got fired on by the Yanks who were setting a gun position up next door.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh no, we're not fucking Union Jack out and stop it." And then we moved up, and it was just I've never seen so many vehicles moving, and they just weren't stopping. And there was like the big American Marine Amtrak things, or whatever they call them. I'm driving a 4.3, whipping in and out of them because we had to get towards the airport.
Yeah.
And I was looking up at them thinking, Christ, them things are massive.
Yeah.
And they were looking at us going, who's this? And we were just overtaking them, getting in and out of them, cutting them up and stuff like that. But it was just vehicle after vehicle after vehicle after vehicle.
We were there like kind of like smashing up everything. And then our kind of like big claim to fame for the battery was like the Battle of Nasiriyah and that. And that was where like the whole of the Marine Corps had just come to a standstill. There's a book about it, Charlie Battery, by the United States Marine Corps. That goes on about it was like one of the final bridges, for like the Americans to take towards like Baghdad. but none of their guns were in range. And they couldn't get across the bridge because of whatever. You know, like us, the artillery and that, you know, just smashed up the whole town. You know, so it would have been like kind of like firing from like kind of like Larkhill into like kind of Boscombe, you know, Boscombe down, that kind of thing, you know, just smashing it, you know, and we smashed up that whole area all night. You know, there was just rounds bouncing off pylons. Yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, like, you know, it's you know, someone will say like, you know, it wasn't that bad or it wasn't that close, but you know, it kind of felt close, and you just got this bridge, and you've got refugees running across the top of the bridge, and we were like just smashing it, and until like the Americans could get into position, and then it was just like that morning, right, you've got to drive back 100+ miles to get back to the battle group, kind of thing. You know, but
I didn't realise you'd gone that far forward, to be honest.
yeah, we'd gone so far forward that it was like we nearly, this book here, Charlie Battery, was written by Andrew Lubrin, whose son was in the United States Marine Corps. Not my words now. To the men of Mercer's troop, well done, Andrew Lubin. You know,
Signed as well. All right, you've got bragging rights then.
got bragging rights there, mate. Because like, you should never let like the truth getting in the way of a good story. British reinforcements. Reinforcements were already on the scene. A 105 light gun battery in Arthur radar unit from England's famed 16 Air Assault Brigade had seamlessly materialised out of the desert dust and offered their assistance to 110. G Parachute Battery, Mercer's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery was commanded by Captain Gibson Barclay, fantastic gentleman, and they had been moving north west by vehicle in order to support an airborne assault on a Kuala airfield, some 35 miles north of Nazaré, by the 1st Para Battle Group. So yeah, I mean, I could go on, mate, but you know,
You don't need to. No. You've won.
It was just pretty horrendous, though, you know, and it just didn't stop all night. You know, we were just constantly firing. You know, as the Iraqis engaged, my men with 105 howitzers just started, like, you know, turning, like, you know, just smashing it, mate. But yeah, it's an amazing book, you know, and it's got it there, you know, a Marine artillery unit in Iraq, Charlie Battery, fantastic book, and everybody from the battery got given a copy. You know, that was involved in that battle, and that's a massive kind of like claim to fame, you know, for like,
and it's a good,
you know, for 7th and the regiment. But it's like, I just love getting that book out, and when you read that little paragraph, and out of the desert, because where the load of troopers from 7th going to be? I think you know, just there with like the blue rugby shorts on, like, you know, like something out of Radfan, like the ghost of Radfan has taken over them, and they're like, just smashing it up and that. So yeah, you know, and then like we did quite well out there, finished off in Alamara, and then we come home, and then it was a couple of days after that, same as yourself, when all the madness started, you know, in Iraq, like, where we were very, very lucky to keep going forward, and I'm sure 3rd didn't take any casualties and 7th didn't take any casualties, and the casualties that the British took within that invasion were very, very minimal. But then after, like, they'd said, like, the war fighting has stopped, that's just when it just turned to anarchy. The 6 RMP boys, you know, got murdered out there, and I think, like, the Brits, you know, were just on the back foot then. You know, everyone was like,
Towards the end of the actual, when the war fighting finished, I mean,
yeah,
we didn't know what we were then.
ex-
We half of our battery went down to the L4,
yeah,
and half of us stayed up on the Shiver Air Base to get the kit ready
yeah,
and back. And somebody had a bright idea of saying, actually, they're bringing. There's going to be it's going to be dry from tomorrow night, and we were like, it's going to be dry. No one's got any beer anywhere, type of thing. Somebody had mentioned that we knew, or they knew, where there was an off license, and sneakily we drove down into Basra. Me and this other lad in a Rover. Everyone put some money in. He drove round it. We went past Basra Palace and round the corner.
yeah,
And I was thinking, hang on a minute, I'm fucking sat here in this Rover on my own, and there's people all around us,
yeah,
and they were happy to see us.
mm,
They were waving at us and everything like that. I thought, oh, this is mint. And then all of a sudden, smack,
yeah,
I felt the Rover go forward. I thought, shit, what's happened here? So I jumped out, grabbed my weapon. I was about to cock it.
yeah,
And what it was, somebody had drove into the back of the Rover. I thought, oh, we're fucked. While my mate's walking out with the off license carrying 2 crates of beer, and 2 locals are carrying another 2 crates of beer.
yeah,
And they all stopped. And it turned out this bloke, just some guy, had drove into the back of the Land Rover because he was pissed. Some local. They dragged him out of the car, battered him, put all the beer in the back of the Rover, said sorry to us, and we just sped off.
yeah,
But I mean, we were, I was thinking, the locals are lovely. They're all right. They're great. They're all on our side, and for a week, 2 weeks or so, maybe they were.
yeah,
I remember seeing them out. They were happy to see us,
yeah,
and then it just changed.
yeah,
And there's political reasons for it, and there's other reasons for it, and the way they were treated and stuff like that. But we went from almost victors to the worst people in the world.
yeah,
And the amount of people who suffered.
yeah. And I've never been able to get my head around that part of it, and that's been a real kind of sad thing. That, I mean, hindsight's a great thing. And I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was Wafu, so he was Fleet Air Arm, and he was told that, when he'd come back from Iraq and he'd done whatever and that, even the Royal Navy was like, or parts of Royal Navy was just like, look, mate, let's just not talk about it. Let's just keep, like Iraq on like the never never. He was saying, like, like, what's it like, near enough 20 years and that. He was saying it's just going to be one of those like horrible little stinks. They won't be able to get rid of that smell.
No.
They just won't be able to get rid of it. Like, and it's, we're sitting there over a brew just going, well, what was the point? What was the absolute point? Okay, money, government, we're not mercenaries, and we do what the government tells us to do. And that's the nature of the job. And that there was something they weren't telling us.
We thought we were doing well, or we were doing good, and we'd come back and we should have been heroes and stuff like that, and then shit went downhill fast. And you look back on it and you think, yeah, what was the point? Don't get me wrong, I'm still proud of what I did.
Yeah.
We went there. We thought we were doing good. You're told this or whatever. I'm proud of what we did, but like you say, was it all worth it in the end? Don't know. It's well above my pay scale.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting that you say Vietnam, because straight away the Americans were like on a losing horse for betting on for putting all their money on that completely stupid regime. Like they completely sided with like the wrong side in Vietnam, whereas like the Vietnamese at that time just wanted their independence. Like, they wanted their independence from the Japanese in World War II. They wanted their independence from the French, in the 50s. The Americans come along, that. Whereas you look at Iraq, but what was their independence? Who were we backing on? And that was the thing. Like, yeah, get rid of Saddam, but who do we put in? Who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then like the guys afterwards, a ground fight, a holding the ground for what? They. I was talking to a lad of mine who was the infantry in that, and he was saying like they had to live in these coffins and that, like, and it was basically just these holes in the ground that if they got IDF mortared, it was just to lie in these like kind of coffins and that. I mean, what a thing, you know.
Yeah.
And the squads have called it a coffin because they know that if they get a direct hit, they're in a coffin already, and the rubble's going to cover them up. So it's saved the MOD on a burial.
I mean, we laugh, but that's our gallows humour.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So after Iraq in 2003 then, so it was back to the UK for you.
Yeah.
What happened then? How long did you stay?
Well, I mean, like, I think it was just like everybody else at that time. There was no decompression for us. It was just like you get back to the unit and you go home thinking like you're this stupid conquering hero, and like you're not. And it was just like coming back into Margate off the train and that, shed loads of like, Stella, etc. and that, like, getting in this taxi, waiting for this taxi driver, he's not going to know me to say like, welcome home, mate, and you're just like, all right, mate, what's going on here? Small talk and all the rest of it. And like, you're just like going, nobody knows. And I think that was like squads from whatever cat badge, whatever regiment, whatever they did out there, they all went home to their own little towns, scratching their little heads, just going, what was that all about? Oh, I've got all this cash in my back pocket. Right, well, I'm just going to go on the beer.
Yeah.
And I just went on the beer, like, and just made a complete idiot of myself. And it was just I just went, right, just get me back to Aldershot, just get me back in the block. I just made a mess. I thought I made a mess out in Iraq and that, but I'd gone back to Margate and just made like an even bigger mess.
In a way, I was kind of lucky because we went back to Germany, so we were surrounded by all us. Germany was a different army to being in the UK. But I think some people were expecting, it had been in the papers and stuff like that. It appeared on the news, and they were expecting maybe a reception of like what people got from the Falklands.
Yeah.
And that was that was a justified, genuine conflict, and and rightly so that when they came back, they were lauded and they were treated like heroes because they were.
Yeah.
When we come back, it was like, yeah, what do you want?
Yeah.
Like I've just come back from Iraq, or did you see me on the news type of thing? And they were like,
no.
People weren't interested. It's like the guy I was talking to last night who was talking about Aiden. He said almost exactly the same thing that you've just said. Then he came back from Aiden after doing so many tours, and then one tour he did was 12 months. He came back, went home on leave, and nobody wanted to know. And he was like, he didn't want to be at home. He wanted to go back to camp. Or back to Aiden. And it wasn't until years later that he was, not years later, but like on another leave or whatever, that he could talk about it. But it was to people who were like me and you, who were veterans. And he was talking to guys from the Second World War and places like that who'd served in the Second World War in Korea. They could relate to each other.
Yeah.
But so, it's like he was saying, and I agree with exactly with what he was saying. We're out there doing a job, expecting the world at home to be on hold.
Yeah.
Because we're not there, and we're in danger and stuff like that. And then you go back, and the world's moved on. Everything's moved forward. Our life's all been part of that. But when you come back, your life's not been part of what they've been doing. So then, as much as we'll see something bad on the news and think it's really bad, and everyone feels sorry and all the virtue signaling and stuff like that, like for Ukraine and for Palestine or wherever. But a couple of weeks later, it's not in the news. You don't really think about it anymore. And when we come back, you think, oh, yeah, what was it for?
Yeah.
What was the point?
It was kind of interesting because, like, 82, that's coming up to like near enough 40 years now. And those guys that are in their 60s now are just talking about it.
Yeah.
Very sadly, like they're just ending it. Whereas like the MOD can turn around and say like, there's enough psychiatric quacks out there and all the rest of it. And I don't think it's a psychological problem. I think it is just, well, it is one. How many times have you heard Civ Pop turn around and going, well, we shouldn't have been out there.
Yeah.
What a waste. And like you're going, well, hang on a minute, mate. And they're going, well, like, I don't believe like we should have been out there. What a waste. But they're the same people that want national service back.
Which will never, well, I don't know. Sometime in the next 20 years, I
But
mean, Christ, I doubt I'll be
you
around,
know
but
what I mean?
something's going to kick off.
It's all these kind of people, you know, of whatever they are on the political spectrum. Oh, yeah, what a waste. We shouldn't have been out there. But the kids need more discipline. Get them in the army. And I'm going, hang on a minute, mate. Did you join the army? No. Was it you guys that thought it was a waste? Yeah. But you want them to join the army. Well, it's going to give them discipline. And I'm like going, and then what happens to them when they come home from whatever future war it is? Are you going to just turn around and say to them, well, I didn't agree with it, but you agreed with, you know, nationalising the army, you know, to get people off the streets, you know, to be baby-faced killers or whatever it is. And then when they come home, like, you know, all tattered and torn, you go, well, nothing to do with me, mate. And that's kind of like where my battle is with the people outside the, like, you know, the red, white and blue.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I wouldn't say it's a difficult one, although it kind of is. It's like they say, we're never civvies.
No.
You know, you leave the forces, you're a veteran, and your mindset is different.
Yeah, but
to
no, sorry to interrupt you, but nobody knows what a veteran is, and nobody knows how to say thank you for your service or that kind of rubbish. No one actually knows how to thank us, do they?
Yeah, so like in places like America, I'd imagine other countries that do the same thing. I'd be very uncomfortable if somebody said it to me, to be honest. If so, you know, like you see, like in America, where you know they applaud people and say thank you for your service. You know, if somebody actually said that to me, I think I'd be quite uncomfortable.
I mean,
you know, it'd feel a bit false.
I've had people saying it to me, and these are like kind of like some of the biggest space cadets going, and I'm going, but why are you, you know, why are you saying that to me? You know, what is it that you're thanking me for? You know, and then like I just can't get my head around it. I just can't get my head around these people outside and that, and it's taken me like a long time to kind of figure it out and just go, do you know what, mate? Just, you know, and once again, like we'll just screw it all away.
Yeah.
We'll just screw it away, and we'll just go, yeah, all right, mate. Cheers, bud. Oh, were you in the army? Like, are you allowed a beard in the army? No, mate, but this is my war beard. You know? this is the war beard. This is what you're allowed afterwards. But yeah, I just don't get them, mate. I just don't get them. And the guys and girls aren't looked after. You know, there's not enough money. I don't know what a veterans minister can do. I don't know what my little veterans badge is supposed to do. You know, I don't know what my little veterans card's supposed to do. You know, that new one.
Yeah.
How is that going to help me out?
I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. I don't think anybody does at the moment.
No, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the blue light and the defence discount card is absolutely brilliant. You know, and I rinse that everywhere I go. That is an absolute giver. You know, defence discount card. You know, you get yourself in Frankie and Benny's and you just rinse them. You know, just, I mean, like there are other food chains out there that are, you know, other than Frankie and Benny's. Yeah, but yeah.
So what was next for you after all that then?
So then it was, I went to Larkhill. You know, like later on, and that no, it was Kosovo. So we did Op Oculus, which was like a close observation platoon, that in Kosovo, and that was just absolutely terrible, and I just really hated it. You know, it just wasn't my bag. You know, I failed the course. That was all like down Lyddon Hive and that, and I just didn't like it, you know. And I went out to Kos and that as part of like, you know, so like you got the guys like doing all the sneaky beaky stuff, very similar to what the boys would have done in Ireland and that. And I was just like the POL attendant, I just made sure like all the trucks were all POL'd, and that, like they could all go out like, wearing their Levi's and North Face puffer jackets and, like hiding hedges and stuff like that. I mean, I had fun out there, but it was just complete crap. I just didn't really, in hindsight, I just didn't like it and that. So it was like from there they said, right, you can go back to Larkhill for 2 years.
Was that 3-4 battery or?
No, that was Estra. So that was export support team. So that was like selling arms or being a part. That's kind of weird because you're in the army, but you've got civilians that are coming in and telling you that you've got to sell this kit, and then like you've got these sergeant majors, that have done sergeant major and gunnery kind of thing, and they're there like with their little canes, and like going, and all this kind of stuff, and 1 minute is like you're trying to get in with like the company and trying to help them out and trying to get like the best deals for them. And then like you're still governed by the army, and you just know that sergeant major is just trying to get up the greasy pole. But the plus side of that, I did some really good gigs. So like, I went to like the big UK defence show, up in London, did that twice. And that was basically, you could buy any kind of weapon, any kind of body armour, any kind of vehicle, any kind of first field dressing, but you're not allowed to sell leg restraints. Yeah.
Torture.
Yeah, that was it. But you could buy this round, that will just leave a massive hole like that into somebody, or you could buy this massive gun, or you could buy whatever it is, to kill people more sterilely, and you could patch people up. But yeah, but if you've got like a load of rioters, and like you need to like disable the legs and pick people up and move them along, people go, no, you can't do that. That's a form of torture. So
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So I think what I'm kind of I'm getting at was like, not that I was becoming like kind of like a pacifist or anything like that, because I'm not a pacifist. I was getting kind of like political, and I started seeing things like, that I kind of not that I disagreed with. I just didn't think that was kind of right, and that's where like, I was a bombardier at the time. And they said like, that was your pinnacle, courtesy of your friend and that we were discussing earlier. And I was just like getting kind of, no, this ain't right, and things were just starting to upset me and all the rest of it. But
so your outlook on life within the military was just changing.
Well, that was it, But at the same time, though, I'd gone back to like my love of like riding Vespa motor scooters, getting back into Vespas and Lambrettas. So it was like every weekend, I was going to a scooter rally. I met my girlfriend, like my wife now, and that, and we were just like, right, we've now got 2 years just to get away and just do scooter rallies, like let's just go and sit in a field, get beard up with like-minded, like like enthusiasts or scooterists or scooter boys, whatever you want to do, listen to music, and then Monday morning, like just have a quick shave, etc., press your kit and get ready for work. But then like you're just there going, just get me out, just when's the next rally, when
just waiting for the weekend.
Like you're just waiting for the weekend, or like you're just waiting for the next gig, and because that wasn't the normal thing to do in the army kind of thing. It was like, well, where are you going? What who are those kind of people that you're mixing with? What how do they fit in? Are they extremists? Like, and I'm like going, no, mate. They're not. They're just working class kids or working class men, wives, girlfriends, etc. That just like Northern Soul, like ska, like punk, like whatever it is, and they like Italian scooters, And I used to get that a lot of people, and then like the more that would happen, the more like like the jeans would come up, and the more that I'd want to show like off like a pair of like Oxblood Doc Martens kind of thing. The more I'd want to ride into camp on a Vespa. And then once again, like you'd see all the big Power Ranger Sergeant Majors or LEs all on their big motorbikes. How like you need to have one of these, and I'm like going, no, I don't, mate.
I can imagine you coming through the gate like Quadrophenia.
Well, I was never into the mod thing, but it was like and I was just like very very much into that scooter thing. And just doing gigs, and that was like where like kind of like then like the army started like just paying, I suppose a bit like an addict would, the army's like paying for your addiction, like you want like another scooter rally, you want you want that other record, you want that that other shirt, you want to be a part of this like kind of like this little scene that that no one else in the army is going to be a part of it, even though there's loads of people in the army that are a part of the scooter scene and stuff. But then like there was a lot of people in the army that got into the scooter scene because they thought like they could network, feather their nests and all the rest of it, or try to make some money out of like an old like 1950s style Lambretta kind of thing, and I had those people sus, so I'm arguing with those people. I'm like, oh yeah, like no, mate, you're not into it. You're not into it. You're just trying to feather your nest. You're just trying to do a network or whatever. So I did that. But anyway, I did that. Managed to get out to Thailand. With like like UK Defence and that, and that was really good. That was like 2 months, 2 months out there. Like when I was at Estra. Flew out like club class with BAE systems to turn up at the embassy in Thailand, and the embassy in Thailand's like the British embassy going, well, who are you guys? And we're like, what? So you guys don't even know we're over here? No. So it's like we're kind of mercs, oh yeah, like we're just going up to the Triangle, mate. Like we're just going up to the Delta. Like that to sell some arms to the Thais, like and did that, and when we were out there, like there was a coup. There was an actual coup, and I was involved in a coup, proper 100%. Do not go down into Bangkok and that. Well, I'll have a look in Bangkok. I'll see what it's all about. And it was just like all the army on the streets and that. Like the Olympics, when the Olympics come to the UK. And you've got the army, you've got, mate, that's nothing to the way the Thais do a coup with their soldiers. It was absolutely brilliant, but the interesting thing was like with that coup, and you got the army everywhere, and you got tanks, you got the police, and all the rest of it. Bangkok was still operational. It was like you could still go in the bar and have a beer. You could still like go to the swimming pool. You could go to a go-go. You could still do whatever you wanted to do, but you've got martial law on the streets in Bangkok.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was like really, that was really interesting, and obviously like did a couple of operations like down into Pattaya and that which are like fully classified.
Say no more.
But it was like that was good. But even then, like when I come back from there, it was I think like the two Lane brothers, Barry and they're both sadly passed away. Both very big in the Gunner family.
The ring a bell.
Okay,
ring a bell.
I think it was Baz Lane. He'd gone out there with us and that, and absolutely fantastic guy, brilliant guy, like this. but like, you know, I've come back into the UK because he was out there with us and that. Brilliant, you know. And he was like, I know what you've been up to, you know. And he's like, I could get you done. And I was like, what can you get me done for? And it was like, because I had a whole back piece done out there, tattooed, you know. Like, and because I didn't tell him, and I was just doing these ops, like, you know, like get all tattooed and all the rest of it. He just didn't like it that I kind of got that underneath the radar. You know, of getting this tattoo on my back and that, and he was just like, what are you doing? You can't do that, like. And I said, well, it's a bit late. Oh, I can have you charged and all the rest of it. And I was like, mate, it's there. You know, what are you going to do? Take skin off me? Oh, like, you know, you could have had X, Y, and Z, but I haven't.
Yeah.
You know, and then it was like I come back from there. And I kind of like, you know, got my light back, went back to 7th, went back to Ball Street and that. And then we did Herrick 8, you know, so like, you know, gone across to Afghanistan and that. And that was completely different because, you know, like you didn't know if it was the war against terror, if it was like stabilisation forces. You didn't know if it was about drug dealing, if it was about like, you know, getting rid of the Taliban or whatever, you know, and kind of like sitting there out in the patrol base. And don't get me wrong, like, you know, I did my job to the highest of standards. Like, you know, when the guns had that call to fire and stagging on and everything soldier like, absolutely brilliant, you know, first class and that. But I was just like, I just didn't get it, you know. And then like we come back and then you had to get ready to go back over there again on Herrick 13, and that had changed again, you know, and I kind of didn't get that part. And I think it was after that, like, you know, well, I can't remember if it was after the first tour or the second tour. I went and saw the doctor in Colchester, and I just said, like, you know, something's not right, you know, I don't feel right, and kind of like opened up, and the doctor just turned around and said, well, why don't you just leave?
You know, give me some help, please. Oh,
Yeah,
just fuck off.
yeah, yeah.
Which is basically what he's just said to you.
Yeah. She said that. She turned around and said that. She goes, well, like, you know, if you don't like it, just get out. And I was,
Fucking hell.
yeah, you know. And I mean, you know, later on, I proper crash dived and all the rest of it. You know, I went, you know, I marched into the hurt locker, and there was no plug on the lamp and that, like, you know, and the crossword had already been done in the newspaper. But it was just like, yeah, that was when I kind of knew that something weren't kind of right with us. And then, you know, gone out there a second time, and I was just like, this ain't right, you know. And I had a good time out there, you know, and it was safe and all the rest of it, but it weren't right. And just come home from that, and I moved out of 7th by that time, you know, after that tour. And I said, like, I just got to get closer to home, kind of thing. Well, down this way. So I went to first, got to sergeant. I was about like the 12-year point then. Jumped ship, went to first, thinking like that was going to be a bit different and all the rest of it. And you know what they say, you know, worst first and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
You know, trying to re-establish myself there again. And, you know, you got like new sergeant majors, you've got new lieutenant colonels, you've got, you know, new battery commanders, etc. Nobody knows you. You're not a first RHA soldier as such. You've got to, like, you know, go, okay, well, like, you know, it's a blank sketchbook, right? You know, let's start again and re-establish myself in that, you know. And it was like I did, you know, to extent, and I went into B battery, which was a fighting gun battery, and it was absolutely brilliant, you know, great battery. Went out to Kenya with the guys, brilliant, you know. They were really good guys, really close-knit guys, and did everything there. Your man Glasgow said, well, that's it, you ain't going to get past sergeant. And I said, like, you want to bet now? I said, like, you said I wasn't going to get past Bombardier. You said I wasn't going to get sergeant. I got sergeant. You said I ain't going to get, like, my crown, you know, staff sergeant. And I just went in the office and I just said, basically just said to the battery commander that the people from Glasgow think your report writing's crap. They think I'm crap, you know. And they said, right, okay, and they really went into bat for us, like, you know, the battery commander and that, you know, and the BSM, like, you know, they went into bat, they really looked after us, and they went up to Glasgow, you know, and I got like my staff sergeant, but it was like, you know, like you had to move across the chestnuts. You know, I'm kind of like, you know, working my way backwards in the alphabet, you know, to go from B to, you know, you know, I, G, B, A kind of thing. Went across there, and then that was a completely different battery, and I couldn't figure them lot out. And it was all in one regiment, and I kind of found that hard. But I most probably had like the best tour with them. You know, I'd gone away on tour with them as a part, like kind of like the omelette training, mentoring, on like the D30s. That was really good because, like, you know, like you go up to Finland, you do all your training up in the Arctic Circle and that in the winter, you know, firing these old school Russian guns to train like the Afghan National Army how to smash them up. And then there was that one time, so like we've kind of like flown into Sangin and that, you know, not really a lot going on. Like we're attached to the infantry, fantastic guys, really, really good, really keen, really professional, you know, squared away guys, but no names, no patrols and all the rest of it. But this other cat badge was all buying gear off the A&A, and they were going up onto the point, you know, and I was just like, so the people that we're out here to protect, you know, and to train and all the rest of it, are selling stuff to us that we're not allowed to have because we get CDT'd, etc. And the guys are going out, and they,
Yeah, it's a bit mad, and it's not something people talk about either.
no.
You know, in all honesty, you're the first person I've ever heard mention it.
Yeah, I mean, like they got moved out of theatre very, very quickly.
Yeah.
They got moved out of the army. You know, I was like kind of like going, somebody higher must have known that somebody within the A&A was flogging stuff, you know, to British troops. Somebody must have been doing it. You know, it could have been a small bit, it could have been a big bit. I don't know, but yeah, these guys got like posted out straight away.
And too right as well.
Yeah, you know, but I was like going, but how long were these guys kind of doing it for, and how come like he didn't get like, you know, stopped a lot earlier than what it should have? But yeah, did that. We had to fly into Sangin and that, because like the Afghan National Army wanted to hit somebody, you know, like with these D30s, but they didn't have any assets, so they didn't have any forward observers. They didn't have any intel. They just wanted to like fire these rounds into this area because like they believed like there were surgeons in there. So like the Brits and this all like group of guys are going, well, look, like let's see if we can get some assets. Let's see if like we can get like the eye in the sky, PGSS, etc. Like let's get a drone across, whatever. Like, you know, before like you hit something that you might regret, kind of thing. And the Afghans, quite rightly so, just turn around and goes, but you guys have been hitting us for the last 20 years, you know, and you guys haven't cared like where your rounds have been landing and all the rest of it. You know, you guys are now stopping us from using our guns to smash up whatever. We just said, look, you know, like we're bugging out of there, you know, so I flew out of there and went back to Bastion, and I couldn't tell you if they fired those guns or not.
So going into the transition into Civvy Street, what did you decide you were going to do?
I wanted to be the stop and go man. Yeah, yeah. I wanted to be like the stop and go man. So I had all these things about the transition, about like, oh, you can do this, you can do that. You know, you're a senior NCO. You know, everybody's going to want you. If you want to work for Lloyd's Bank, you're going to be that kind of guy. Those people don't want you. And I broke down on the motorway in like my Volkswagen camper van, and I was talking to this amazing guy, and I said to him, I said, well, what do you do? And he goes, temporary traffic management. He goes like, I work on the main roads, putting out all the road cones and doing all the lane closures, and you know, it's a really good job, and you know, it's a little bit of tramping in it, you know, because you could go from like the M5, you know, all the way across the M25 or the M2 up to the M6. He goes, but there's always work, And he goes, and it's good money and you can get good qualifications, if you get onto the high speed. So, but he goes, but what you've got to do, he goes, everybody has got to start on kind of like B roads, and you need to be that guy that can put road cones out and you can hold that lollipop up and you can go stop or go. You do that, a bit like the army, you do the basics, and then like you move up onto like dual carriageways and then onto the motorways, and then you can get a job with Highways England. So
Right. I never have thought of it that way, to be honest. No.
So I've done all like my research, and I've got like my temporary traffic management license and all the rest of it. Gone back in to see them. I said, like, and they go, well, how do you do that then? And I said, well, like you've basically like you've got to start at the bottom as a stop. Oh no, you're far too good to like be the stop and go man, like that. And I'm like, all right, okay. So I wasted all my money there, and then I looked into the prison service, and I was all good to go. Did the exam for the prison service there, and for whatever reason, like this guy just didn't like me, and he nobbled me, and he said like medically like there was things wrong with me. So I've got out from the interview from this prison, gone back to the army. Lieutenant Colonel just marched in there. I said, what is wrong with me? I said, like, this doctor, whatever it is saying there's something dirty. Right, there's all your med docs. Go back up there. MOJ said, Ministry of Justice, what's going wrong? I said, I don't know. Went there, this same guy again, handed across like my medical docs. No, Chris, like, something wrong with you. I think you got high blood pressure. And all the rest of it. I said, there's my medical docs there. And he goes, not interested in that. And just revved me off. But the funny part is, though, before I had to see this lunatic, you got this script. And you've got to go into this cell. And you've got like this angry prisoner. And you've got this sad prisoner. So I've read this script. I've gone, right, okay, this guy's got issues, Gone in there, and this guy has started on me like this. He's like, he's all acting, and I've just gone, ooh, like that. He's gone, you what? like, I've just completely just revved him off. And he's like, do that again? And I'm like going, right, Steve, so it seems here that, like, like you've had your trainer stolen, like this, trying to get back into character. And it's just completely thrown him that I've just, like, shrugged my shoulders. And, like, I've just revved him off. I've just completely, like, just revved this guy off. I've just gone, no, I'm not having it. Went next door, got this really sad person, like, pulled it out of the bag. Absolutely, like, pulled it out of the bag, did everything, and this person, they both come out and they said, he's the guy that you want in the service. He's just really, really good. He's just gone in there, no claptrap and all the rest of it. You want something sorted out, he's your man, go and do it. But this guy just turned around and said, no, he's not coming in. He's not coming in, don't want him. And I said, right, well, I want out of it. And they went, no, you can't leave because we've still got to do all these other interviews and stuff. I said, so are you keeping me here prisoner as, like, I've been invited in here and I want to leave now, because you really don't want me kicking off in here. And they've gone, well, we've got no one to escort you out. I said, I think you have. Like this. That was my time, like, like with the HMP and that. So I did like my SIA course. I did a security course, and I got into security stagging on, and that was because I didn't want to be a failure and all the rest of it. I just put up with all the rubbish. I was working for this company, put up with all this rubbish, and I was going, no, this ain't right. No, I'm not happy. And I did that for like 18 months or so, with other personal things going wrong with me. And I just went, do you know what? I'm going to put like a letter of resignation in. And the manager just turns around and goes, well, I'm not going to lick your boots. If you're going, you're going. I said, right, okay, I'm going. And I just went.
Yeah, they don't give a toss to them.
Didn't give a toss. So I'd gone from kind of like the prison service to get into security for this company that said, you've got to do this. Well, here we go. So there was this exercise that I had to do, and there was me and this other ex-squaddy, and they said, like, there was a vehicle borne IED outside the control room, kind of thing. What are you going to do? So like we're like going, potentially like we can't use radios, potentially like we can't use telephones. We're doing like 5 and 20s everywhere. We've got to try and get out of this building the best we can do without going line of sight of this vehicle. Trying to bug out, and I did this like textbook kind of gig, got everybody out, went miles out the way, once we're out that kind of like kill area kind of thing, managed to get comms. I said, like, I want an operational box here. This is like where I want my ambulance guys to be. This is like where I want the medics to be. This is where I want this, da 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 da. Bam. After the whole scenario, thinking I've got like 10 points and all the rest of it, Sid Pop, who'd never had experienced anything as nasty or traumatic as that, turned around and said that I'd done it all wrong. And this Siddy, I'll never forget it. He goes, I only talk to people that are high up in the army, got like a lot of gold, on their chests and all the rest of it. And what do you know? And I turned around and I said to him, I said, look, mate, I said, like, I've done like 3 tours of Afghanistan, and this poor lad who's with me had to carry his lieutenant colonel off the plane in a coffin, and he had to carry like a few more people off the back of a plane in a coffin. So don't turn around and say to us about all this gold on their chest, because I said, like, we're not interested. And I just said, I think we're done here. That was just, couldn't believe it. And like the way, like, kind of like, there was just things like with Civ Pop that I just couldn't get them. I just couldn't get them. They told me to press my kit, polish my boots, call everyone sir, mom, etc. Easy. People come up to me, like, the company that I was working for, all giggling. Oh, like, he's just called me sir like this. Oh, he's just called me mom. Knowing, like, I've got to do like a little stop and search on them. Good morning, sir. Sorry to mess you about. I've just got to check your bag. Just sign here. Say I've checked your bag. And just start arguing. And so then I'm just like going, all right, mate, cheers, bud. Just like completely like just NFI'd with them all. I just went, I'm not putting up with this. So like I went on the agency, and this guy, if there's anyone like living down in kind of like the southwest or whatever, and they're stuck like between like kind of Swindon and the M4 corridor, Allegra agency, absolutely brilliant, really, really good. Phoned them up. I said, like, have you got any jobs? Yeah, come down. And they put me in a warehouse. But the thing is, though, I'd kind of gone from there working with these idiots to down there with like kind of like all the waifs and strays of society. Where like, I start becoming like the people's champion, because like I'm looking at the supervisors and going, you guys aren't doing your job right. Bearing in mind, that's not my job to do that.
Yeah.
And they started like threatening me, saying you can't say this and you can't do that. And I said, right, well, I'm going to tell you something now. I'm now a member of a trade union, and I used to be there like this. And I go, are they your words that you're saying, or are you speaking on behalf of the company? And I used to get like my trade union card out. I go, do you want me to make the phone call, or you?
Back down pretty quick then.
They all did.
Yeah.
They all did. And then luckily enough, like that company folded. But because like squaddy mindset, I've like turned around and said, right, I need to get my CV ready. I need to get myself like good to go. I need to get everything because I'm the man. And I went round to everybody in the company. And I said, is anyone got CVs? Has anyone got job interviews? Anything like that? And that day, as soon as I found out that I'd been made redundant, I've been queued up for another job.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely brilliant. That was like Hayes Recruitment down in Bristol. And they work for the Ministry of Justice and prisons. They've gone, how do you feel, like working for us for like, it's just been an escort. I said, well, what have I got to do? They said, have you got any skeletons, anything that's going to like stop you working like with inside a prison and that? I said, no, nothing at all. DBS comes fine, advanced DBS comes fine. Worked in a category B prison and then went other prison. And I'm just in there, for a period of time, just escorting around contractors that need to do work. And it's an absolute gift of a job. Absolutely.
You're happy where you're at now then?
Mate, you can't be happier. Like, all the contractors come through the gate, you give them a gypsies, as in to say, have you got any contraband on you? Yes, well, you're not allowed in. What tools have you got? Like you check off their lists and that. You then give them like a real nice informal set of orders. Like, look, I'm going to be your escort. We're going to be going here. If anything happens, you need to stay close to me. Da 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 da. Get on the radio. Or if you're bringing a vehicle into the thing and it's the world's worst days, like prison break or whatever, like we're just going to get in and we're just going to batten down the hatches and all the rest of it. And it's rigid, it is rigid and it has to be rigid because of the people are in there. But it's got like such a professional, relaxed environment. And when like you see like the HMP staff and that, the prison officers, which are they're absolutely fantastic. Like, I can't sing their praises enough. Like, really, really good guys, swept, squared away, ready to go to work. And like you see, like, like the way that they are with the inmates and how professional that they are with them. And I'm not even at that level. Like, I'm way below them. If I've got to go and see them, it's just like, good morning, sir, good morning, ma'am. Permission, to go onto your wing. I've got to do X, Y, and Z with this contractor. Is there anything like, any atmospherics that I need to worry about? And if he goes, yeah, Slasher Harris is kicking off. Can you come back later? I go, okay, mate. Yeah, that's fine. Just sign it in the book. We can't do the work because Slasher Harris is kicking off. Contractor's happy. I'm happy. Or it's like, right, okay, Slasher said it's okay to go and do whatever you've got to, for argument's sake, what you've got to do. You just go, hello, Slasher, you all right? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. Right, we just got to do this. Can you just make sure that you keep your distance from us, please? Don't move anywhere. Don't try to nick anything. That little bit of like, conversation, nothing too formal, nothing too personal. Just keep it right. He's happy, strictly professional. You just like come out and like you just wait for the next gig, But it
sounds like you're happy where you're at then,
mate. It's a gift, and I really don't know why a lot more kind of vets or squads aren't getting into that kind of work and that, because it's just at that level, there's no nastiness there. There is discipline, there is procedure, there is there is a set procedure, and like there's orders, for a squaddy can pick up with. If you get told, don't do this, okay, I don't do it. If
it's probably lack of knowledge that them jobs exist, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's a fantastic job, and like the two supervisors that I've had that I'm working with have been absolutely brilliant. Really, really keen, swept away kind of guys. You go in there, you do the recce before you like you turn up for those kind of jobs. Good morning, just let you know I'm going to be like your new guy. What do you need me to do? Right, just turn up, notebook and pen, make sure you've got no contraband. Yeah, that's fine. Tie your beard up, that kind of thing. polish your boots kind of thing. Yeah, okay, mate. Yeah, make sure you've got a crease. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can do that. And right, you're going to be taking an escort. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can do that. All the escorts. And today, and what was really, really nice was one of the top companies that I'm working for at the moment. They turn around and they said, we really like it like when Chris is here, because he's really keen, he's squared away, and he knows what his duty of care is. And his duty of care is for us. And if we say, Chris, we need to do this, he'll go out of his way to go, yes, we can do it, or is there any chance that we could come back 20 minutes time, and this is the reason why. So you haven't revved anybody off. So you've got that whole squaddy mindset.
Yeah.
That whole thing, don't come back to me unless you've got an answer or you found a solution. So like you're there like that, right? All the rest of it, young lads or old lads, just got to do this thing, sign your life away here, that's it, and then like you just do the checks, like whenever they move, or and at the end of the day, it's good, and you haven't got the stress of being a prison officer.
Yeah, there is that as well. Well, I think we've come to our end now, because it's been nearly 2.5 hours.
You can cut this down to at least an hour.
Been interesting listening to your story from Margate to the prison service almost type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's been great listening. We're going to say goodbye now. Well, sorry about the abrupt ending there. The software crashed as I was recording it. Thanks for listening up to now. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you've got this far, well done. It was a long one. If you like this podcast or any of the previous ones, please consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Frankie'sPod.